goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. I'm fine, you make everything feel fine. Really love this fun.
Yeah, the duties with there in Premier. Newcastle United.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We are back again. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, the Fully Loaded Transfer Show. Slightly different tonight. We're gonna do a little bit of Q&A as we go along, but there is some updates on news that we will bring to you over the course of the show. Just little snippets, just little tiny talking points. So we'll talk about them, and we'll get into it. But your questions are already coming in. I'm already starting them.
Good.
So keep those questions coming in, people. And Sophie B's in the house nice and early. So make sure you get those likes up. We should be coming for you. So make sure you do that. All that good stuff nice and early. Boys, Thursday evening. I've had a mix of bright sunshine and rainy showers. How's it been your neck of the woods, Daz?
Just been cloudy and dull all day. It was a heavy rain last night and stuff here. There was meant to be thunderstorms, but there wasn't over a lot of Ireland that I know of. Anyway, there wasn't any here. But no, all good with me. Yeah. I suppose at this stage we thought we'd have one or two players in, but we're not there yet. But I'm sure we'll talk about that. But something I do want to mention, because I'll forget it earlier. And Chris, we've got a mail from Russ, from Radiator Russ. He is now sponsoring the Hedon United FC under-8 girls. He's a sponsor for the team. Now, I don't know. There's probably a better graphic as well, but that's the graphic I have loaded up onto the system. But just want to give a shout out to Radiator Russ, who's delving into sponsoring teams now as well. So fair play, Russ. Well done.
Sponsorship far and wide. Good lad. Chris, how's things?
I'm all right, mate.
Chris,
I'm just
sorry, Chris. Could you do your introduction in Spanish, please? That's the tone has been set now for Liverpool lads to doing the intro in Spanish. Over to you.
Oh, mate, there's been loads of chat between my brother-in-law, who's a blue, a few of the blue lads on the WhatsApp chat. I've been loving today's announcement because, obviously, it was. Trent wasn't sure what he was doing. He didn't know where he was going. It was a last minute decision, the pull of the heartstrings. And then he comes out in fluent Spanish. So yeah, all the Blues have been absolutely loving that. Absolutely loving it. I was, when I heard in recent weeks, from Liverpool fans who've been telling me, that the reason why they booed Trent, the reason why they weren't happy with Trent and how he conducted himself, like, if Trent was under any disillusion as to why that was, I think today just kind of spells it out. The fact that he's now fluent in Spanish, and it's like, oh, obviously that hasn't happened in the last few weeks, has it? That was quite funny. But yeah, on a personal level, mate, I'm fine. Just shattered. Work's really, really busy at the moment, but getting through it. Really looking forward to tonight's show, as I always do. I love coming on and talking all things Newcastle. And yeah, I felt like it was a good time for the Q&A session. It's good to get those questions out there. Hopefully, get those questions answered for anyone who's got wondering what our opinion is on certain things. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. But Pete, how are you doing, mate? How is that back?
Yeah, first time I've been able to walk properly today. So we're on the move. We're moving on up. Yeah, good stuff. So full up with ibuprofen just to keep me kicking on. But yeah, we're feeling good. The door frame is in place. The building work is continuing. So we are getting movement. It will be another couple of weeks, I reckon, until it's all done and dusted. But yeah, things are moving. So yeah, exciting times in the Davy household, that's for sure. But yeah, it's been a mixed bag of weather today. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to brighten up Newcastle United fans' evenings with some chatter. And
on the subject of weather, I didn't mention weather. I've had to turn my light on, and in recent evenings and recent weeks, obviously it's not been getting dark till like 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was weird. I logged off work and I was like, it's pitch black. So we haven't had any rain yet, but apparently we're in for one very, very soon. But it hasn't kicked off yet, but it's imminent. It is imminent.
Another imminent, that word again. It's been another Keith brings us to what obviously everyone else would have heard the news today, but the thoughts go out to the victims in India and on that plane today. Just absolutely tragic.
I haven't seen anything.
News. Yeah, no, not a good story, Chris. Yeah, but no, our thoughts and prayers go to the victims and the families.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, not good to hear. And yeah, some of the images on social media I've tried to stay away from, because for some reason now social media doesn't protect people from whether they want to watch these things or not. It just seems to be flying up on people's feeds without warning, which is not ideal. But as you said, yeah, pray for all the victims and speedy recovery to I think maybe the one or two that potentially have survived that incident. But on the note of football, we'll switch that back into football and Newcastle United. It's interesting. You mentioned it, Daz, about signings, and when are we going to get signings? Are signings going to walk through the door? I thought there was a really interesting point that Luke Edwards tweeted out today. And to be fair, it was Chris Waugh that talked about it on Pod of the Time. He's also done a piece in The Athletic today. If you haven't, go check this out. And it's ultimately this. I think it adds a little bit of perspective here in terms of what we're expecting in the window, where he says, to put this window into context, in the years gone by, Nick Pope was our first signing on June 23rd in 2023. In 22. And in 2023, Tonali joined on July the 3rd. Now, if we think back to those, they look like signings that were done quite quickly. And we were like, whoa, like we're right into the mix. But actually, when you take it and put it into perspective, those deals were done actually a lot later on than where we are currently standing right now. And I think it's a really important point to make, because there has been a lot of frustrations in the fan base about why we haven't got signings through so quickly. I do think there's an element of it about this early Club World Cup window that's made everyone go mad, that's expecting us to go out and get these signings. But just hearing that and seeing that perspective on the likes of Nick Pope, the likes of Sandro Tonali in the last two windows where we've actually signed somebody, does that change your perspective on things, lads, with regards to what's been put out today?
Well, I read the article from Chris Waugh and George Culkin. And I haven't listened to Part of the Time yet. I'm saving that for a long journey in the car. I that's my go-to on the car, along with listening to us, of course. I did catching up on what we said or didn't say, but no, and yeah, they're kind of pointing towards the frustration, the eagerness of the fan base and social media going mental because we haven't signed anyone yet. And yeah, he does point to the dates from the past as well there. I think it all probably stems from, now every manager wants to get their signings in early. And Eddie always wants that, but it never happens for him. But he made a point of saying it this time. And that's why everyone thought, oh, we're definitely going to go make signings early. They do come back for pre-season on the 7th of July, and I believe their game then isn't too long after that as well, the first game. But is that the Celtic one that you were talking about, Pete, on the 19th? Is that the first game?
Yes, unless they've got one before that, because I think they go to Austria before. I know the women.
Yes, it's before they go to Austria. That's what Chris Wass said. Yeah, that they wanted to have. They'll definitely want to have someone in, at least one in by then. But I think Eddie stating that he wanted it in early is kind of put everyone on a bit of panic station because we haven't signed anyone yet. So just stick with it. It is what it is. We're frustrated as well, by the way, but we just have to carry on.
Chris, does it change your perspective on things? Seeing that the actual signings of years gone by coming through and the dates that were there, we're still a way away from that June 23rd, Nick Pope. We're still a way away from the 3rd of July, Sandro Tonali. Still lots that could be done within that time. Should we sort of be thinking differently about this window, or are we right to be frustrated that those deals haven't been done yet?
Do you know what? It's good to have a little bit of perspective, isn't it? And as a fan base, we are quite demanding sometimes of news. I mean, I was only saying on the show previous, wasn't I, that I want a CEO who comes out and tells us what's going on and stuff like that. Maybe that's me being demanding as well. I don't know, but I'll be honest. I don't think it helped. I don't think it helped the fact that we kind of have 3 transfer windows, and Eddie came out, didn't he, and said, we need to strike quick, we need to go early. So I think maybe some fans have put 2 and 2 together and gone, well, okay, well, that'll mean the Club World Cup, there's an opportunity for us to do a bit of business in the transfer window which is essentially created for the Club World Cup. But seeing the article there, when people are saying, well, actually, we made our first transfer a couple of seasons ago on the 23rd of June, we made a 2nd of July, stuff like that. I think that helps. Do you know what? I think there's no right or wrong with things like this. I mean, ultimately, we want to get the right players in at the right price. And if that takes a little bit longer, then so be it. I'm sure we'll all look back, or I hope we'll all look back, on the 1st of September and go, actually, we've had a good transfer window there. We've done good business. It's just frustrating, and maybe for ourselves as well, boys. We spend a lot of time, on this platform talking about transfers, talking about links. So maybe it's even worse for us because we get excited at even the slightest little bit of news because we can't wait to discuss it and share it with everyone at home who watches. But yeah, I'm trying to be as relaxed as I can regarding it, and it's not like the Mike Ashley days where you were panicking. Oh, here he is.
Jog on, Todd.
He doesn't miss a transfer show, does Todd. But yeah, I'm trying to keep myself relaxed because we've had 3 windows of disappointment previously, and I do expect this window to be a good one. You can clip that up on the 1st of September when it's not. But no, I'm keeping quite chilled, and I'm trying to avoid all of the noise as best I can. Obviously, I keep my finger on the pulse, and you boys, between us all, we're all throwing stuff in the chat, and we're all keeping up to date with what's going on. But I'm not getting too gung ho or too excited because I do appreciate these things take time. And ultimately, I forget who it was who said it. This is a period when all the players are on holiday. All the players are on holiday. They're out having a break, enjoying themselves. Well, some of them are. And I suppose you've got to remember that as well. These players do have lives, and they do need breaks and stuff like that. So the fact that it is delayed shouldn't really come as too much of a shock because this is a bit of downtime for them. So I'm being grounded, is what I'd say, Pete.
Yeah, it's. I think we have to be. It's still early days in relation to what normal transfers are like, transfer windows, and we just need to make sure that we get those deals done. If we were to get one deal before the end of June, that would I think that would calm a lot of nerves and fears, particularly if it was a relatively big signing. That would give people that confidence that we're at the races. I think because it's been so long without a first team ready signing, I think so many people are desperate to get these deals done. And so from that point of view, I just think, let's get one signing through before the end of June, and then let's really go to town in July. That's what I think may well happen. But look, we're on multiple fronts, and we can move on to it because there have been sort of little updates with players that we are linked with. Couple of things in since we last spoke with regards to Jia Pedro. So we know, because we've already talked about the fact that Brighton got the here we go on their young Greek international from Olympiacos, 34 million, been through medical. Not sure if it's been confirmed, but I think that's all that's ready now is the rubber stamp point of view. But a couple of updates with regards to this, just edging ever so further forward. So TBR Football have reported that Newcastle or Jia Pedro has informed Newcastle that his willingness to play on the right wing if needed to speed up the move from Brighton. Seems like he's desperate to get out of there, and he's said, he's willing to play multiple positions. And then in addition to that, Luke Edwards has confirmed from the Newcastle end that there is a real keenness for Jia Pedro to join Newcastle United. There was a question a few days ago of whether he would actually join, but it seems to be now that there is a keenness for that move to actually take place. So, it seems like things are moving forward. It might not be moving as quick as we like it to be, but it seems like we're moving forward. And, Jia Pedro coming in before the end of June, would that excite you boys? Would that make you confident going into the rest of the window, knowing that we've made a big money signing?
Yes, is the answer. But Jia Pedro coming anytime, I don't mind, because I'd like him to arrive now as well. I just I don't really mind which one it is, because it's one of them through, and then we can kickstart from there. But yeah, to answer your question, really, Pete, yeah, I'd be delighted if Jia Pedro arrived before the end of June.
Definitely. Do you think Jia Pedro showing his keenness and willingness to play in multiple positions, Chris, is something that can help get that deal done a lot quicker than what we maybe anticipate? Because look, there's big question marks around the fee and continued question marks around the fee, but his willingness to leave Brighton and now, as it's been reported, join Newcastle United and his willingness to do so. Do you think that could maybe move it forward to get it done before June is out?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's great. I mean, you hope that this source TBR are spot on in what they're saying. But it's great. It's great as a fan to read that that a player is really excited and very willing to play out of position in order to join your team. Like that in itself shows good traits, and it shows that he's all the uncertainty I had around his discipline and stuff like that. It kind of mutes that a little bit, because when you hear that a player is willing to play out of position because they just want to join the team, I think it's great. So do you know what? I remember you saying, Pete, not so long ago, that you were really, really warming up to the Jia Pedro deal, and I honestly feel exactly the same way. Like I'm getting to the point now where I'm desperate for him to come in, because I think he'd be so good, and we know that Eddie Howe and his coaching team really like him, and I think the only downside, I suppose, is the price, and we've discussed the price on the last show, didn't we? Saying that he's going to cost a pretty penny. We're not going to get him on the cheap by any means, but sometimes you've got to pay for quality, and I think Jia Pedro is quality. So if we, even if we did pay upwards, reaching that 60 million mark, I don't think we'd regret it. I think we'd be buying a really, really good player who can only improve under Eddie Howe's stewardship, and who will help us going forward, particularly when it comes to breaking down teams or finding that killer pass, and also offering an alternative to Alexander Isak, so that we don't have to flog him every single game next season. So he ticks so many boxes. I do hope the deal gets done, and if it's up to 60 million, I still would want us to do it, because I think potentially it could be worth it.
I'm so desperate to get this deal done, lads. I'm not going to lie. I think not because we're desperate for a signing, it's because it's him. I'm looking at him in the way he plays. I'm seeing his development at Brighton. He's almost made that jump up from Watford to Brighton. I just think he's ready for that move, and I just think he is one of those that's the perfect foil for this team. You just look at the way he plays, the way he links midfield to attack, the way he can play multiple positions. His technique is fantastic. You know, set pieces as well, whether it's crossing a ball in from deep, whether it's taking a penalty or a free kick into a dangerous area. He's got the ability to do that. I'm really excited about this potential deal. You know, the links with other teams, it's always going to happen because Brighton are going to want to drum up interest for him. They're not going to want a straight shootout because it means that Newcastle will potentially hold the cards. But I think Newcastle need to get this one done. They have to get this one done, in my opinion. So I'm really excited about this deal. But there's other updates.
Pete, before you move on, Pete, because I put up a bit of a poll, try something new on our YouTube channel today. So there's a post up there, and 285 people have voted. So I asked the question: which one of the following 4 potential Newcastle signings do you want us to sign most? Noting that the various conversations on fees involved, etc. Also, CC two polls, but yeah. So I'll go in ascending order. I'll work at the bottom. Work up. 8% of the vote was James Trafford. 17% of the vote was Mark A. 32% of the vote was Anthony Elanga, and 43% of the vote, and the winner was Jia Pedro. So most of the viewers that voted wanted Jia Pedro the most.
I'm very surprised James Trafford was last. Very surprised.
Yeah. People did seem to point towards, because there's a lot of comments in as well, towards us not having a backup for Isak was their main reason for going for
totally.
Pedro.
Totally.
Yeah, that in itself absolutely makes sense. Is without that backup for Isak, you know, you're going into the season asking the same questions all over again. You know, what if Alexander Isak gets injured? What if? And I think at this point as well is that people just don't want to be having to rely on Callum Wilson again. If a striker doesn't come in or a forward player doesn't come in to supplement Isak, I think people are worried that Wilson's going to sign a new contract. I do think that's an element to why people are so desperate. I'll be honest, it's a reason why I'm really desperate to get Jia Pedro in. Because if Jia Pedro walks through the door, for me, as much as we love him and we appreciate what he's done, it's goodbye to Callum Wilson. And I think people are ready for that now. So I think that need and that want for Jia Pedro to come in automatically goes, right, we've got an alternative now. You know, we're in a good spot. We've got Isak, we've got an alternative. Then I think it'll be a case of the right winger and then Trafford. And I mean, the centre-back position, we do need a new centre-back, but it's not pressing, is it, boys? Because we've got Fabian Shaw, we've got Dan Burn, we've got Sven Botman. You know, Lascelles is back from injury. So you've got your 4 there already. It's not pressing. We do need a new centre-back. So then, you know, it then pushes Trafford up the list. But, you know, again, people will say we've got Nick Pope. You know, Nick Pope can be depended on for a few games if it means we wait a little bit longer to get a goalkeeper through the door. But look, it's an interesting one because and I wasn't going to go to this because I was going to go to some questions, but we can go to some questions to this topic because you're talking about James Trafford. I know you boys in the last show mentioned that you thought the goalkeeper was the most important one to fill first. Yeah. I think maybe that's why, Chris, you were quite surprised at the poll. But you know, how long? The question I've got for you and people in the chat as well: how long do we wait with this situation with James Trafford before we go elsewhere? Because as we touched on in the last show, Newcastle have also showed their interest in this man from Lille, Lucas Chevalier, and we've talked about him before. It was mentioned in the Athletic piece that we've got that there are admirers. His name's been mentioned quite a bit more recently alongside Newcastle United. So whether there's more interest because of this issue with James Trafford, how long do we wait until we go, right, okay, we need to get a new keeper now? If Chevalier's cheaper, which I believe he would be, I don't think he costs 40 million, in my opinion. How long do we take until we go in a different direction, Daz?
Well, I know you're asking the question about James Trafford, but I think it goes across the board on the 4. Let's say the 4 main options that we believe are Eddie's go-to ones at the moment. To see where is his cut-off point? Because he on one side he's saying I want to sign in too early, but he could be the one delaying things for himself. And as we said as well, he's a lot of work to do with those players when they come in to mold them into what he wants. And like James Trafford, the whole offense has to get used to of working with him as well, and across all areas of the pitch. So I don't know. I think I'd be after. I think Eddie's going to stay, stick it out with James Trafford in particular. But I'd be myself would be heading into July. I'd be looking elsewhere as well, or talking to other people to get another option, because someone else could jump in on with that other keeper there as well. So we've got to keep our eyes open. And but yeah, I think early July we have to definitely start looking at elsewhere.
Chris, 19th of July. We play Celtic at Celtic Park before we then jet off to our pre-season over in Asia. If Trafford is not in by then, do we need to look at alternatives, or are you willing to be persistent and wait a little bit longer and get closer to the season before getting our goalkeeper? How do you see it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? A very interesting one. I really like Trafford, and well, we've spoke about him in great detail, and I think he will be a really good goalkeeper for Newcastle United. But I will maintain what I've said previously, in that we need a new number one. And for me, whether that be Trafford or somebody else like Chevalier, as long as we bring in a new number one, that's my priority. I wonder actually whether. Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze. I wonder whether these rumours of Chevalier are just to almost give Burnley a little nudge, just to go, you know what, there's other people out there. There's other people out there who we can obtain. It could be genuine. It could be that, you know, we are trying to negotiate. It also makes you wonder whether the Juan Garcia, and that's maybe what we were doing there. Maybe it was a little bit of Newcastle United playing games in terms of letting Burnley know that there are other options out there. I would be. I'm not going to lie. I would be really happy if we signed James Trafford. But as long as we bring in a new number one who will challenge, or at least challenge, but in the main take over from Nick Pope, I'll be happy. And I trust this management team to bring the right number one in as well, because I know that they will have been scouted extensively, and it won't just be on a whim, or Chelsea want him or Tottenham want him, so we want him. It won't be one of those signings. There will have been a lot of homework done on whoever we bring in, and therefore I'll be happy. But I still maintain that we need a new number one, regardless whether it's James Trafford or somebody else.
I'm with not 9 here, right, on his comment, because I too learned how to spell and say Mamashvili because we wanted him so much, and I refuse to do the same for Chevalier. So I'm going to keep calling him. I'm not going to go fancy like you, Chris, until we're definitely signing him. So yeah, I hear you, 9. I'm with you.
Just to point out, 9, I'm not being fussy there, but I think you've spelt Mamadashvili wrong. But I'm just saying.
9, don't worry. Don't listen to him. It's fine.
He's not our player anyway. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's going to Liverpool. We don't need to worry about it. But yeah, you can throw Jadon Garcia in there as well. More recently, for exactly the same thing. You get excited about a goalkeeper potentially joining, and it just throws up. But look, Eddie Howe wants his players in before pre-season. Let's see what gets cooked up. I think we've got at least a week. I think they start pre-season on July the 7th. So we'll have a week into the July for a deal or two to potentially be made. And that could be an important week to keep an eye on before pre-season actually starts, to get a player or two through the door.
Pete, I want to ask you both a quick question. I know we're going to go to questions, but I want to ask you a little quick one. And I thought that's where you were going, but you didn't. Give me a number for how many players you think will have come through the first team players who will have come through the door by the 19th of July when we play Celtic?
3.
I'm also going 3.
I was thinking 3. I'm just 3 of us. Crazy.
1 each. No, we have to move. Start moving sometime. Soon.
Another question. Flip it round.
Oh.
How many players do you think will have been sold, not out of contract, but sold by the 19th?
I think we'll do our selling later in the window, because Eddie won't want to release anyone until he knows he's got his players in, and I don't blame him in that front. And that could be why the whole Ruddy and Wilson saga is playing out as well. 0 on the 19th.
0.
I'm going to say 1. I think 1. Who that would be, I don't know. But yeah, taking away, like you said, the free transfers, Pete, the ones who expire, I think there'll be 1 sale. Who that will be, I don't know. But I think 1. Yeah. What about you, Pete?
I think there'll be a sale. I don't know if it's going to be who we expect it to be, though.
No, that's what I mean. I almost want to like throw a wild card in. Do you know what? Watching this back, we probably look dead. We probably look like we're being dead secretive and suspicious, don't we? But it's not. Well, certainly from my point of view, it's not that. It's just I like you, Pete. That's exactly what I was thinking. I think it'll be 1, and I think it'll be 1 that we weren't expecting. Just got
I don't want to lose him, but I've just got a feeling that we could sell Harvey Barnes this summer.
He was your first pick in the squad game to bring up.
Yeah, I just think about these things all the time. Obviously, since squad game, we've done it. And I put him in our squad because I want him to stay. Like, in my opinion, I want him to stay next season. But I just wouldn't be surprised. Just wouldn't be surprised if he gets moved on, if we get a big enough bid. I think there's enough teams that will be interested. But if not him, maybe Joe Willock. I think if Longstaff leaves, it might be later on in the window. But
bit of a bargain. Yeah.
But by next week, my opinion on that might have all changed. I just have these little thoughts about what might happen, and then it chops and changes to something else. But I know there's a lot of questions in the chat. Let's throw some out there. I'll get rid of the tunes that we started, just because it will create some space.
Yeah, on the question and answer show, it'd be rude not to take the odd question.
Imagine that. Well, it's been brilliant. Thanks very much, everyone. We've answered our questions.
There has been updates, and if there is any questions related to some of the updates, I'll join them on the back of what the question is.
Brilliant.
This one maybe first, because it's linked into what you just after describing, Pete. And it comes from James Walbridge. He goes, if you had to let one of Barnes or Gordon go to find and I suppose maybe to fund 5 key signings, who would it be? So which of the two are you letting go?
Well, it's a difficult one because
let one go, Pete.
Gordon's going to fetch you more money. So by getting you more money, are you able to strengthen more significantly with better players because you've got more money to play with? Or, do you get 30, 35 million and then stretch it with sort of cheaper options? Look, I think most people will go for Harvey Barnes to move on. So I'll probably go with, although I love him, I'll probably go with Harvey Barnes.
Chris,
this is a really hard question because I was playing it out in my mind. My initial reaction was Harvey Barnes, and I think I've probably been the most vocal on this. I have a really weird feeling about Gordon. Ever since those Liverpool rumours and the whole England thing, and all his head wasn't right after England, and it took months. It just feels like there's an undercurrent that maybe we're all not aware of. And I worry that if we were to sell Harvey Barnes, I would still be feeling that way about Gordon, even after he's gone. And then it'd be like, well, we can't lose Barnes and Gordon. So I part of me, like, I don't. Although I did watch something the other day, I forget where I watched it. Apologies, but somebody mentioned that Harvey Barnes handed in a transfer request. I don't know whether it was January or the back end of last season. I'm not sure whether it's because he wasn't playing enough games or whatever. I don't know how true that is. I've had to ask you boys. I didn't know that, I'll be honest, but somebody said it. So I don't know. You know, that's such a hard question because you're right, Pete. Gordon fetches you more money. Barnes, of the two, if we're talking purely the player and what the player brings, I would rather keep Gordon because I think Gordon has got more to give. I think he's more suited. Boys, I've said this for a long time. Like, Harvey Barnes for me isn't necessarily an Eddie Howe type player in the way I see Eddie Howe wanting his wingers to play. Like, we're not going to see a Harvey Barnes on the right wing, as in when we bring our right winger in, they won't be like Harvey Barnes, like the ones we've been linked with. You know, Anthony Elanga. He's basically like Gordon. Maybe, you know, the very, very similar in profile. The way that they play, the absolutely rapid, you know, push the defenders, want to get to the byline. That's not Harvey Barnes. But I do see the advantage of having someone like Harvey Barnes. It is all about squad balance. To answer the question, James, it's a hell of a question. I would probably say Barnes. I would probably say Barnes, but I do have this nagging feeling over Gordon, and I can't get rid of it. I don't know whether all my blue and red mates have put it in my head. I don't know. It just has his behaviour or the way that he's been portrayed, because obviously he's not come out and said it himself, but you look at the body language, you look at the rumours, it's very reminiscent of his ending at Everton. It's very, very reminiscent of it. And I just worry that it's just going to rise and rise and rise and get to a point where it's like, yeah, we need rhythm. And then you start, you know what I mean? That's just how I feel about it. It's just how I feel about it.
Fair enough, Chris. We are aware that the chat has frozen, or we're not. At least we're not receiving any more messages because we just tried to do this in our own, and it's not. So, just as well, we have some questions in the Q&A show.
we got lots of questions to keep us tied over until YouTube do their thing.
It may kick back in again.
Yeah, YouTube's been playing up for a few days now. In our last show on Tuesday, we had similar issues, but you know what, boys? Just to add into that. It's still part of the conversation. I'm a little bit worried about Anthony Gordon. I'm you know what? I'll reword the start of that. I'm so desperate for Anthony Gordon to have a really good season for us next year. I'm really desperate for that because I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried that we won't get that Anthony Gordon back that we had the other season, his first full season when we were playing Champions League. I'm just worried that we're not going to get that back. And I think whatever had happened over the summer, reports have been coming out sporadically over the course of the season that it was effectively he thought he was going to be a Liverpool player. It was almost kind of pretty much a done deal. And I think his head got swung with that. I think Newcastle thought by giving him a new bumper contract would completely eradicate that issue and make things almost go away, but it hasn't. And that is my worry, is that we're now nearly a year on from that situation. I'm still talking about Anthony Gordon and this Liverpool link and him not being the same Anthony Gordon. That worries me a lot. It does. So I need to see Anthony Gordon hit back with a really, really good season, because that will, if he turns it on next season, that will just completely clear my head and go, yeah, you know what? His head's in Newcastle. He's back. We've got him. happy days. If we don't, I think you'll hear more and more fans start to say, maybe we need to trade in.
And this is why I was struggling, Pete, with the question, because I don't want to sell Barnes and then go, yeah, we need a bit of Gordon as well. And that's why I was weighing it up, because I hope it goes away. I want to keep him, and I think he's a great player. And you know, if he reproduces the form of last season, not the season gone, but the season before, brilliant, great. We've got a fantastic player on our hands. If not, and we're seeing more of what we saw in the season just gone, that's a concern.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a quick update, tech update. The chatters don't see any difference because the comments are coming in on YouTube, but it was just, we can't see any new comments coming in since 7 o'clock. So just a quick update there. For me, I'm selling Harvey Barnes, reluctantly selling Harvey Barnes. I just have to, I don't know how many times now I've doubled down on Gordon, just hopefully getting back to where he was. But if he doesn't, then I'm open to switching and mixing it up a bit. But let's see.
Absolutely. Let's see what the situation is. And any other questions? Of course there are.
There are. We kind of touched on this one, but let's go for an official answer on it. Clouds says, do you think Newcastle will sign a player before the start of July, or do you think it'll be our business will be after 30th of June, 1st of July?
Oh, is Chris gone?
Chris,
I was like,
yeah.
And it's YouTube's messing with all of us tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Taking us out one by one.
Yeah, one by one. Who's going to be next? Okay. I do think we will sign a player before July. Absolutely. I think, you know, Eddie Howe being very adamant in his press conferences before the end of the season actually made reference to this. And I don't think I expected him to say it, but he did. But he almost talked about us doing what Forest did to us and what Brighton did to us in this window. And I think as you get closer to the 30th of June, you are going to get a big scramble. It's really, really interesting. I've been watching the situation with Villa very carefully, but everything's really quiet and calm at Aston Villa at this moment in time. But Aston Villa have to sell and may have to sell more than one player. And I think Newcastle United are just keeping an eye out on them. Not only have we denied them Champions League football, it wouldn't surprise me if they then go and take one of their players. It just wouldn't surprise me at all. So I think Newcastle United absolutely sign a player, possibly even more than one. You know, if we get the thumbs up on a Jia Pedro or James Trafford, we'll get that deal done. But then that's not to say that we can't go and pick up another player. If we get we're hypothetically here, like in Dash chip in as well. If we get the nod to say there's a chance that we can go and sign Boubacar Kamara or Yuri Tillemans, like that's a player that doesn't come around very often. So I think Newcastle will push the boat out for a player like that to ensure that they get him through the door. Jacob Ramsey maybe as another name thrown out. I know Ezri Konsa was linked with a move away, right-sided centre-back.
Someone has asked that question.
Throw it up, Dad. Sorry, I'm not.
Let me go. Just here, I think we'll sign one as well before the end of June. So I do think that. Well, that we just have to find that question with Konsa. While I'm looking for that, because it might take me a while to find it, let me switch tact and ask the question. I know Sophie wasn't having this, but Sancho in. It's a no from me on Sancho. It's his wages. I just Claire G says as well. What's the heck all this all about Sancho? I don't believe that we're in the mix for him. I don't know. It's worked for him in Dortmund, but anywhere else it hasn't worked, and I just don't trust him.
I'm going to do a Daz like he did with the Tino. Not a chance. We are not signing Jadon Sancho. I'm sorry. he is not right for the Premier League. He is not. He just isn't either, whether it's in mind, whether it's in body, whether it's both. He is not right for the Premier League. He needs to go back to Germany. So you're right, people, to think about these potential links, because they have been there with Jadon Sancho. There has been a link. It was talked about in the Chronicle today. The Sun, Guy Chris is not here for this one, is playing Newcastle are among a handful of clubs monitoring the developments of Jadon Sancho. I mean, look, there's a couple of reasons why. For one, he's on ridiculous wages. Two, I am not giving any money to Manchester United, in my opinion. I do not want to financially benefit them at all. And let's be honest, people, us signing Sancho from Man United is a good thing for Man United. They want rid of him. I want him to stay. I want him to keep bleeding that £300,000 a week out of that club. That's the thing. Like, keep him there. He comes to us. He does exactly the same as what he's done with Chelsea. He bigged Chelsea up as this chance to kick on and do yada, yada, yada. Back to his old tricks again. Send him off to Dortmund or wherever, buy Leverkusen with Eric Ten Hag, although they don't like each other. Go send him back there and let him go and play in the Bundesliga. Because let's be honest, people, the Bundesliga is the only place that he's actually played well in his career. Let's be honest. So send him back there. It's a no from me. Not a chance.
Since you were doing a me there, Pete, Freuden says, Man City have been told. They obviously saw the clip that I clipped up, and so they know now he's not for sale, as well as from Eddie. He is not for sale. He's going nowhere.
I'll pop it up because I had the Tino talk in there, and Mark Douglas of the iPaper does say in there that Newcastle United have these talks of moving to Man City with a resounding not for sale message from the club. They will not listen to offers. Simple as that. That's the music that we want to hear. And that's how it needs to stay, as I said.
This one from Craig Lee asked the question. I haven't heard anything about this myself. Has Isak gone for the operation that was mentioned towards the end of the season?
Well, to be fair, Eddie Howe played it down because I think he was asked in his last press conference about, is Isak going for surgery, and he kind of played it down and said it would be more likely rest. Look, this is 2 years on. That's like now he's been having these persistent groin problems. If surgery is what's needed, he needs to have it, because we need a fit and firing 100% Alexander Isak. We cannot afford to go through this playing at 70, 75%. It doesn't work. Even with another striker coming in, you want your main striker playing week in, week out. So to have him at 70%, it doesn't work. So if he needs the op, he should go and have it. Hopefully, the reason why he wasn't called up for Sweden is to ensure that he's gone and done his op. And a lot of players go and do these minor surgeries without anybody knowing. Hopefully, he's just been done under the radar. It doesn't get talked about, and then he comes back in July and he's good to go. That's what I hope has happened. But yeah, it's a great question. Great question.
Yeah, Iniesta, I have to refer to my phone now to see what the chatters are saying. But Iniesta says no op for Isak, but he's going to have rest and rehab. See, next question, and then Chris is on his way back to us as well. He's rebooting his internet. We did dismiss it, Sophie, so you'd be happy on the Sancho one. Good question here. Good comment here from Dennis. He says, are we going to discuss why we are the only club following the PSR rules? And he says, not as frustrated as I am, our club. Why aren't we selling the stack to PIF for 200 million? They still want to play by the rules, though, don't they?
They do, Daz. But the longer it goes on, the more. I can't remember who put that comment in. So I've just been looking.
Yeah, Dennis.
actually see the screen. But the more it goes on, the more I'm with Dennis. I'm not going to lie. You know, when you see Chelsea selling assets, and you know what's annoying about that, and this is probably Dennis's frustration. Tell us if it is that not only have Chelsea sold their women's team and sold hotels, they're now in the best position of any other club for PSR because of those reasons. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like when you're seeing that happen and people are getting away with it, it's like, what are we doing here? Stefan Borson on TalkSport even said, PSR is dead. It was dead the moment that the Premier League allowed Chelsea to sell these hotels and the women's team and use it towards PSR. At that moment, PSR was dead. So it's fair game. I fully expect to see Villa trying this on to try and sell their women's team to get out of PSR. I fully expect that to happen. I fully expect Man United to sell some form of asset at some point to get money back for PSR. I do. And it's a great point that Dennis has made. Think of how successful, we haven't really talked about this enough, but think of how successful the stack has been in the last year. It has been a huge money turnover in Newcastle. It's been absolutely massive. I bet people have clambered into there today before they've gone to St. James's Park for the Sam Fender concert. I bet they have clambered in and spent a shed load more money on that. Absolutely. And so why couldn't we go and sell that for a ridiculous amount of money? Why not?
Yeah. And look, we saw it ourselves as well. And Saturday night seems to be the place to go as well. Isn't it? When there's no match on, it seems the new happening spot to go to. But yeah, it is strange. And like even I know Kieran Maguire was on Sky yesterday, and even that comment, I know Chris put it in our chat as well, about Man United having different accounts that are looked at or considered for PSR. They all make up their own rules. We're the only mugs that are playing along by the way you should do it. Either we copy and follow suit, or it's open season, or there's some kind of a overall budget level that no one can surpass or something like that, because it is ridiculous the way it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to say really quickly, we do have nearly 400 in the chat. Great to see so many in the chat. Thank you for all your support. Just click the likes. We've only got 100 likes, or just over 100 likes. I imagine, I've not kept up with the chat, but I imagine Sophie B's banging the drum, get the likes up, this, that, and the other. She's a brilliant mod, as are the likes of Tom and Claire that are in the chat as well. Listen to those people, listen to our mods, get those likes up for us. And we'll come back with some more questions. What else have we got? These are good questions, really good questions.
This is the constant one. Here we go. 9 we had it. He goes, Lodamag, we need pace at centre back. So someone said we should test Konza's availability if the Gay deal falls through. With Villa's issue, what would people think? So this is where you were alluding to it there on Konza. What would Billy think of that?
Yeah, world-class Konza. He rated him last year at what was it, 80 million? He rated him at. I mean, he got laughed out of the 12-man chat when he said that, and people have not let him forget it. He's a good defender, a very good defender, in fact, but he's not world-class Konza. But at 27 years old, Daz, you know, I've just had a quick look on there. 27 years old, still got 3 years left on his contract. What would you think would be a reasonable fee to put in, consider Villa selling Ezra Konza?
Villa selling, yeah. Fee I put in 45 million. But Villa selling, no, they'll want more than that. They'll go down the English international blah 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 route. But I imagine they'll get some deals done before the deadline day of the end of June. But if they're still in trouble, talk to us. We can help you out.
I think this is what Eddie Howe is banking on. This is where you could get excited, Daz. As June starts to kind of hit into the middle towards the end, I think we could start getting a few links of players that we maybe weren't even linked to, and it just starts to just ask a couple of questions about certain teams in their situations. It has been rumored though today that Martinez is close to agreeing a deal at Galatasaray, which is
They're buying everyone.
Yeah.
Are they, how are they paying the wages? That's the big question. Like Leroy Sané's wages.
It's quite simple with Galatasaray. Galatasaray use their Champions League money. They're a club that are pretty much guaranteed Champions League every year. And they get that form of that, and they use it every year or every couple of years to just sweep up a load of players. They make their team really good. They'll go and smash the league, do half decent in the Champions League, win their league again, and then use all their money to do exactly the same. Like it's just that's what the Champions League money is to certain clubs outside of the likes of England, Spain, France. It is literally a money spinner. This is why AC Milan are in the position they are. They don't get Champions League, they have to sell their players. Like it's difficult for a lot of countries that don't generate the sort of money that we do.
Right, here's an easy one for me anyway. Jay asks, if Milan offered us a Loftus-Cheek, Tomori, and Abraham for Tonali, would you take it? No, not a hope.
What are you doing, man, Jay? Why? How have you even thought up that absolute disgraceful question and put our Italian midfield maestro in that conversation? Never in a million years. Never.
I see from the chat on my phone, because I can't review the normal chat. Michael McIntyre has become a loaded ultra. So congratulations, Michael McIntyre. Great to have you in the chat.
Great stuff.
Right.
I'll keep it with the chat as well in there.
Do. If you see a good question, Pete, just shout, because we will run out of our own starred ones, but it's good that we had them for backup. We have this one from Lee Jones as well. Would you sell Lascelles to Nottingham Forest as part of their Langa deal, which would help them with homegrown players for Europe? That's a good question there, and it's good, well thought out there, Lee, as we've been thinking of those lines ourselves, of course, with Newcastle. It's a yes from me. Definitely. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. What is he, 31? Jamal Lascelles, 32?
Yeah, it's about 31. Yeah.
That's a great shout, Lee. That's a great shout. I would absolutely do that. I'm with Daz, like 100%. I'd be, thanks for your service, Skip. You lifted the trophy for us. Go and enjoy playing at your boyhood club. Yeah, I think that's a win-win all round if it gets a Langer through the door. Interesting. I don't know if you want to talk about Elanga really quickly, because there has been a little bit of an update on Anthony Elanga.
Update on Chris as well. He's still struggling.
I've just seen something pop up, but as I went to look, it disappeared. So I'm actually working on it. It has been a little bit of an update with regards to Anthony Elanga and his move to Newcastle United. Of course, we know that we're interested in him. We know all of this stuff with regards to making an inquiry before. However, Craig Hope did provide an update either yesterday or the day before, in the last 2 days. I think it might have been yesterday, that Anthony Elanga's deal is still alive. And interestingly, Daz, get your thoughts on this, that the Newcastle club reps were in Nottingham this week. It was thought to have been that they were in talks with Nottingham Forest around the time that England played at Forest Ground for their international against Senegal. So that's a little bit of an update from Craig Hope's point of view. In addition to that, it's been reported that Newcastle are confident in getting the deal done for Anthony Elanga, and not just get confident, but confident of getting it less than what Forest want for him. So there's rumours around the Forest conversation that they want around 60 to 65 million. Newcastle are thinking or feeling that they could potentially get the deal in this piece, as you can see here, at around 55 million. And despite what Forest want, they feel that they can negotiate and get that. And the fact that fulfilling his ambitions of playing Champions League football will be a kind of a deal breaker in terms of him wanting to get that move forward. So there's just a couple of little snippets of updates there with Anthony Elanga. But, where do you see that Anthony Elanga situation? Just give us your additional thoughts with those updates. Do you think, we could see movement soon, considering if Newcastle reps were in Nottingham, it looks like they are very keen to get this deal done?
Yeah, we saw some talk of that yesterday, all right? And helicopter in Newcastle. Went back to Nottingham after that, but eyes in the skies. Yeah, it does sound promising, especially if we can get like the 165. We think we can get him for 55. Big outlay, but he's one that Eddie wants. Wasn't it before that January window we talked? It was the fee of 50 million was being talked about. So 55 after a really, really good season for him. That's fair if you ask me. It's a good deal for Forest too. I think it's a fair deal at 55 million. Any more is overkill, and we should be looking elsewhere. Like Semenyo, for me, I really rate him at Bournemouth, but he's probably even more expensive. Or definitely look to Europe for someone. But no, interesting that's the one that's been. Looks like it's been worked on really closely now, or maybe they're all being worked on in tandem. Who knows? Just a message for Chris Hall. I saw the error message you sent. It does look like a StreamYard issue, so I don't think you're going to be able to get back in. The way it's with that error message.
The
way it is. I don't know. It's weird. That's never happened before.
Oh, I don't know what's going on with YouTube and StreamYard at the moment. It's having an absolute mare. But keep trying, fella. And we'll keep rocking on, and hopefully you can get back in for this. I'll give you a Wolfie update. Spoke to Wolfie about this. He's gone 180. He was, when I first spoken to him, 50, 55 million, I'll drive him there, no problem. Yeah. Now he wants him to stay. He doesn't want that. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. It makes me excited to sign him. because look, all the Forest fans were like, no, we need to keep him. We need him to stay. Like, he's been brilliant for us. And it was only
they wanted 70.
Yeah,
Forest
they
fans.
did want 70, and some Forest fans still do want 70. I think we've got a couple of Forest fans in the chat as well. Although we can't see. But
wake up news 70.
Yeah. Oh, it was in the chat. There we go. But now all of a sudden, Wolfie's saying, I want him to stay. I don't want him to leave. It has to be minimum 70 to sell him. So that makes you think, oh, okay, maybe he's more influential and better than we thought he was at Forest from Wolfie's perspective. So it almost intrigues me a little bit more that if we can get that deal done at sort of 50, 55 million, maybe would you take that as 55 with 5? So 60 overall, 55, 5 on add-ons based on performances.
I'll give you a 55 and less else. Done.
All right.
That's fair.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Interesting to see if the Forest fans in the chat, would they take themselves as part of the deal? Put your comments in, Wake Up, and I think a couple of others as well.
Okay. Let me see. Let's go to another question.
I'll just give you an update. So we've got Locks from Blue Tinted Glasses just come in, and he's put, hey up lads, you lads are lucky to still be live. StreamYard had a big outage worldwide and has been chucking people out of streams. Well, that's why I think Chris can't get back in.
That's probably Chris can't go. So we're the only show live on the internet at the moment. Is that right?
Hello world. Hello world. Come and join Loaded Mag NUFC.
We're not fucking leaving. We're staying on.
Love it.
Oh, good. Okay. Let's move on. Chris broke the internet, says Kendo. Could happen. Could be Chris's fault. We'd like to pin it on Chris, right? Right, let's go to this one. I'll read it as I'm reading it out here. Does anyone think we have a plan B because we have been after the same players for years? Good question.
I think there is absolutely 1000% a plan B. I completely back Eddie Howe to have gone into this window with 3 or 4 targets for each position that he wants. And look, let's be honest. That's it. When the Brian Mbemo stuff came out, how quickly was it that all of a sudden we turned our attention to Anthony Elanga? He was clearly the next one in line, and he's the one that obviously we're pursuing at the moment. But the moment that we don't get Anthony Elanga, and the Forest fans in the chat are saying that they'll take 70 million and all that, and we can discuss 55 Lascelles, we'll do that deal. If that deal doesn't look like it's doable, you'll soon see the links to the next player. I think Eddie Howe would have done his homework. He would have wanted. He knows how big this summer is. He knows how much we need to improve this squad. I don't think he's going to make that same mistake twice. So no, there is definitely.
Craig Lee says no plan B. Someone is stubborn. I think it will take. I think. There's a bit of both. Eddie knows he's shooting himself in the foot if he doesn't get something done, and there's no point leaving to the last week, for the league to start, and to be leaving it to then to try and get it, because then people will push the prices up again. So it's too much of a risk. We need to pivot if we get to a certain point and we still haven't got what we want. Okay, let's move to another question.
NFC 2000 says 70 million of the King's finest or no deal. 55 of the King's finest and the Carabao Cup winning captain.
There you go. Coming home. He's coming home. He could lead you out into Europe. There you go.
What we got.
Okay, if you see something, Pete, just shout. Craig Lee says, are we selling Gordon and looking at Elanga as a replacement with Jia Pedro on the right wing? I don't think so. I don't think we're selling Gordon.
I don't think Jia Pedro's coming in as a right winger. I think he's coming in to be versatile, but I think he's coming in to be almost an alternative for Alexander Isak. I think he's also being brought in to be an alternative in the alternative system. So when we play with the 3 at the back, we have 2 players behind Alexander Isak. I think he could play that right side. So Gordon on the left or Barnes on the left, Jia Pedro on the right, just behind Alexander Isak. I think he'll be brought in to play that role. I think in games where you may bring off your right winger in the game or for whatever in rotation, you might have moments on that right-hand side. But I think I don't expect him to start there, but he is versatile and can play that role. To be one of them where he might fill in. But we have loads of players that fill in. You look at Gordon and Barnes. They've played on the right, they've played on the left. Like, they've filled in. Gordon's played up front. Barnes is played just behind. We have players that are versatile. I think he's coming in to do that. But ultimately, he's being signed, in my opinion, to be that guy as an alternative to Isak if we get the deal done.
Smash that like button, as Todd says there as well. Smash that like button. We are the only show live on the internet at this moment, apparently. I don't know about that. Look, Lee Jones asked the question, lads, would you pay the 40 million to get the Trafford deal? And do you think we will have to get this deal done as well?
I don't think we'll pay 40 million. I don't think we pay 40 million for a goalkeeper. I don't think we pay 40 million for Trafford. I think if we get Trafford, we get him. I think if we get Trafford, we might get him at 30 plus 5. I think that's maybe the highest we'll go for Trafford. I was thinking about this last night, actually. I was thinking, could it be that we go 27 plus 5 and it's kind of in the early 30s? Could that deal potentially get done? These just hypothetical situations I'm thinking about. Could we do 27 and 5, so you go in the early 30s, 32s or so, as a way of potentially getting that deal done? Newcastle will be looking at all these scenarios. We're just kind of throwing these things out there, but yeah, I do think that we don't pay 40 million for him, and this is why I asked you boys the question. At what point do you think it's reasonable to walk away? Because if Burnley got PSR issues, by the way.
That's what I was going to say. Dude, what is the situation there? No. What is the situation there with Burnley? Because I thought, this is a tweet I saw. I saw a -20 beside their name as having PSR issues. But that's why I'm thinking maybe this one could get done before June. And for me, when we originally started talking about Trafford, I said 23. I upped it the other day to 27. Now they're looking for 40. I'm willing to go and meet you at the 30. That's it. Done. Check.
30 or no deal. but yeah, I mean, for PSR purposes, Burnley financially struggling, and I get why they're being bullish in terms of wanting 40 million, because there is a sell-on clause for Trafford from Man City. And that's why I think they're asking for so much, because they want as much money as possible. I think it's around 20%. Man City always also have a first option buyback on James Trafford. And this is it. In addition to that, that's the problem with Anthony Elanga. Because Anthony Elanga, I think there's a buyback. Oh, sorry, there's a 20% on from Man United. And so that's part of the reason why these two players in particular, the clubs are asking for the amount of money that they are, because they know that they've got to give a chunk of that back to the club that they signed them from. So that's part of the issue with James Trafford. And I think that's something that we have to bear in mind. And I think that's why I do think we probably will have to pay as an all-round package deal over 30 to get him. But I just wouldn't pay 40. I don't think he justifies 40 million. I think he will in the future if he signs for Newcastle United, but not right now. And again, we've got to manage our money and get value for money in our players. Lucas Chevrolet will not cost 40 million. I think you could get Lucas Chevrolet for 25 million. Hell, Magic Mike's there for 20 million. I mean, come on. There are goalkeepers out there that you can get for value. It might not be the one that you want, and Eddie Howe clearly wants Trafford, but there are goalkeepers out there for value. Absolutely. So Newcastle got a decision to make. Do they persist? And I believe they will. But at what point do they walk away?
I still think, though, Eddie Howe wants an English goalkeeper that he can communicate clearly with, and he will be able to communicate with his defense. Not to say that Mike Madigan or Chevrolet couldn't do that, and maybe they'll come out of their unveiling and be able to speak perfect English like Trent did in Spanish today. But I just think that's the kind of angle that Eddie will work at, that he may need to change on that as things go. Going to go to one here from Peter McCardle, and I'm going to change the question slightly, because Peter asks, of all the players we're linked with, which player would you be disappointed if we don't sign them? So I'm going to change the question here too, because we kind of answered this already. If of the four of Mark Gahey, Trafford, Jia Pedro, and Anthony Elanga, of those four, which player you can't sign one of them? Which one are you going to let go? And you can only bring in three. So which one are you leaving behind?
Out of all of them,
of those four, yeah.
Ooh. Oh, that's a tough question. It's a great question, but it's a tough one. I would say the person I would walk away from, is it based on the issues that we're having with agreeing a deal, like price-wise?
No, just in general.
Okay.
Forget about the money aspect.
The player I'm probably walking away from is Anthony Elanga.
Oh, because you go for another winger. You have others in mind.
I think there's other wingers out there that I think we could get. What about you?
For me, it is Mark A. because I know there's other centre backs that right side centre backs that we could get. They're equally as good a quality, if not better, in some places. That we could look at that, and we did a whole show on them before as well, as we were leading up to the start of Fully Loaded Transfer Show. So yeah, no, just that's interesting. Yeah, Chris has been you broke the news to Chris, and
I don't think he's seen the chat, so
he didn't hear us. Okay, let me see. Do we have any other question on screen? Because we might have to go digging in the chat to find on our phones to try and find questions.
I'm just messaging Chris back. But yeah, I'm going to go searching in the chat now. Back on.
Nine, kind of linking on to what Dennis was saying earlier about Piff testing the rules. He goes, he's agreeing with Dennis actually. 9. He goes, I don't know why we seem so scared to do anything. Piff seemed should be buying Gay for the Saudi team and then just loaning him back to us, paying all his wage for 3 years. Well, that's what we kind of were. We thought that we might be able to get a loan players off from Saudi back about a year and a half ago, but that never happened, and that doesn't look like it's happening at all.
So I'll throw this one out here. Hypothetical situation, people. Daz as well. Would you take this player on loan if we couldn't get Jia Pedro? John Duran, after less than 6 months, could leave Al Nassr on loan. Oh, it says less than 5 months on there, but could well be 6 by the time he moves. After a £65 million move from Aston Villa, as personal issues for the striker are revealed. I didn't go into the details of looking at what their personal issues are. They're his issues. But would you take him on loan from Al Nassr and bring him to Newcastle United if there were issues with the Jia Pedro deal?
I read this today actually because I just thought it was an interesting take. But the story there is that he didn't want to live in Saudi. He wanted to because that he's not married, I think, and it's frowned upon to cohabit in Saudi. But I think Ronaldo has an exemption to that rule, so he wants to live in Bahrain. With Stewie Penman probably. Stewie Penman probably set him up with a house. But he was going to commute then is it 8,000 miles or something, or it was like how the distance was of a plane journey each day or any time he needed to be back in Saudi. So it was a strange one. But would I take him? No, on loan, yeah. But no, I wouldn't buy him. I just think he's a bit of a headless chicken at times as well. Now he's a good player and he does score some worldies for Villa. And he went on. It says in the article as well. He went on. He scored, I think, a dozen more for the club in Saudi. He went to, but I don't know, Colombian. We've had one of those lads before. Eddie Howe. Look. He just remember the sending off as well. He did mean to do that against us. So on loan, I'd give him a chance, but I wouldn't risk buying him for like 60 million, let's say, or 65 million. It'd be a gamble.
Absolutely alone. I think Chris has put in the chat the fume that we would have from Villa would be glorious. If we were to do that, and that wouldn't be a bad striking partnership. Duran and Isak to be able to dovetail between Champions League nights. Great to see Wolfie in the chat as well. He asked the question: have we discussed Elanga yet? We have extensively. We've covered him, and that's what's the deal that we've all agreed on. Just to let Wolfie know.
Oh yes, Wolfie, for your redirect, Wolfie. This is thrown in as well as part of the deal. We're going to give you 55 million plus Jamal Lascelles.
Deal.
And the redirect. We'll give you the redirect as well.
Everybody's happy.
Let me sort it out here. But Find another question there, Pete, while I'm doing this redirect for Wolfie. Hopefully you're back again because there was an outage, Wolfie. Hopefully Chris will tell you all about it. That's why Chris is in the doghouse in the chat.
Plus what? Wolfie asked, did he not hear you? Did he not hear you? There's only one man you want as part of that deal. Jamal Lascelles. Part of the deal. There we go.
Why not?
Love it. Yeah. Claire G said, we're not paying 70 million, and we're not. We're not paying 70 million. We'll walk away otherwise. That was part of the reason, Daz, I said that would probably be the deal that I would kind of cancel if we had to lose one of those links, just because I just wouldn't pay 70 million. I think 55 is more than reasonable. I angered a lot of Forest fans when I said I valued him at 35. That's just my value. But I think Newcastle will pay 50, 55 to get him out of there. But great to have Forest fans in the chat. Wolfie's clearly changed his mind. He wants him to stay. He wants him to stay at the club. 30 left for a 200 smash of the likes. Make sure you get those likes and people that are joining now. Make sure you get them in and get your questions in. We're coming through the end of our section of questions, but obviously StreamYard and YouTube are having a nightmare. So we're not able to see them on screen. So get your questions in as we go along and we'll keep bringing them up. There were some other points. There were some other points. Friday put, can we see a transfer request from Elanga if Forest owner wants 70 million? Elanga wants to go to Newcastle and play Champions League. Could you see that happening with Elanga? Seems like he's got a good rapport at the club, but could you see it getting to that point?
That he had it? No, I don't see that happening. I think we'll get there, but it won't need to go that far. To tell you the truth, I'm going to go back at Jake Ray's comment. Daz is clueless. We have one striker, but you wouldn't take Duran. I take Andy Carroll coming back at this rate. So will Chris Hall, actually. Yeah, love Andy Carroll coming back. But I want another striker, a more reliable striker, and someone that would suit our needs better. I'm not saying I don't want any striker. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think I'd look further afield than Duran. On loan, yeah, that's a different story.
There's another point in here. Someone just put it in. Where is it? I've just lost it. So many comments coming through, which is great. I've just lost the question. James Walbridge says, here's a question. PSG come in with 150 million offer for Isak. Do you accept?
No. Don't accept 150 from anyone. Are you accepting 150 for Isak?
No. Because there's no one worth that money that you could get to replace. Yeah. Now, there's I think what Newcastle would try and do if that was to happen is go and get Victor Gyökeres straight away. I think they'd go and put the money down and go, yep, we'll take him and bring him to Newcastle. I think that's what they would do. But for me, there is no one like Alexander Isak. When he's fit and firing 100% fit, there's no one else that I'd want in leading the line for Newcastle United. So I would not accept it. I just wouldn't, and that's me. That's what until Alexander Isak leaves the club, that's what you're going to get from me. It doesn't matter how much money. I don't want him to go. I want him to stay. It's as simple as that. I want as long as possible with him at the club.
Now, okay, let's say he didn't sign a contract this summer, and he played next season with us. Then I'd be considering taking your 150 million because it's clear then that he has sights further afield than Newcastle. So then you'd have to be on the lookout for an option and to sell and or have your deal done. Who you're bringing in before you actually sell Isak. Do what even the likes of Liverpool do. They plan well in advance, and when the window opens, bang, they're on it. Look at the deal for Kirkes, the left back. Brighton have already got their replacement in. It's all lined up nicely. It's all done rather than scrambling towards the end of the window. So I'll be glad the day that we get to that position, we'll be able to strategize and plan ahead.
Absolutely. Look, just for Wolfie, because Wolfie's watching in the chat, I don't think Wolfie's realised what's happened with YouTube and StreamYard. Wolfie, just to let you know, StreamYard is down. It's been kicking. It was Locks, actually, that came into our chat to tell us that we're very lucky that we're actually live right now, because it's apparently been kicking people out of their streams all evening. And so YouTube and StreamYard are down. You might not be aware, Wolfie, but we can't, on our side of things, we can't see how many people are in the chat right now. We can't see any new comments and haven't been able to since 7 o'clock. So it's a national issue. It's down properly. So yeah, Chris was with us, and then his internet booted him out, and now he can't get back in. So if you're planning a show tonight, Wolfie, which I believe he is,
which we've redirected to,
we've redirected to, we may be redirecting to a show that may well not happen, fella, unless they get it fixed pronto, because yeah, there's clearly an issue here. So just wanted to give you that update, Wolfie. It is what it is. Thoughts on Cherky going to City? Probably need Chris here for this one, but
lucky Chris isn't here for this one. He'd have a meltdown. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on. How he cuts it in the Premier League. Like we know he's a quality player, lots of skills. Chris has likened him to a Ben Arfa type player as well. Everyone knows about him now as well. We started talking, I would say, about 3 years ago. We were talking about ages ago.
Yeah,
that's probably maybe when Lee was on first. It's probably
Lee brought him up as the first topic of conversation around Ryan Cherky. I think on the platform from a Newcastle perspective, and we've kind of ran with it and kept an eye on him ever since. But he is a super talented. We're going to see him light up the Premier League. Like you boys know, I love his ability, but I've always questioned his attitude. What I've seen of him in the last 3 or 4 months or so, the back end of the season, is a completely different Ryan Cherky than we got the year previous, where he was refusing to play at Lyon and creating problems at the club. He is in a different mindset now, and I think now he actually is ready to make that step up to a big club and play at that highest level. And I think we're going to see him light up the Premier League next season, 110%. I think he's going to be a really good signing.
The other signing they made today, now I've never seen him play, but is it Naipan, the Norwegian lad? I've seen him in Football Manager, actually. That's where I've seen him. I've never seen him in real life, but I know they're planning on sending him out on loan. So it's interesting. And someone said as well that isn't it interesting they're going mad in the transfer window? It's like they feel a ban is coming along.
But if it's not, then geez, like we're in big trouble. If they're not throwing all this money around, they're going to do it even more so. It's going to be even more of a concern. But, one player you just mentioned a minute ago, Daz, that I'll just bring up, and it is, in fact, a player that we've been linked with before quite heavily. Where is he? Where's he got? It's this man, Jonathan David. The reason why I'm bringing him up, because there has been a little bit of an update with him, and it's the fact that he hasn't signed for anyone yet. It looked like he was absolutely dead set to sign for Napoli. Still hasn't happened. Now it's been thrown into kind of chaos because multiple clubs are coming in for him. Like, have we got a chance in here? It's mentioned that he wants a club with ambition that wants to do something. He would love to fight for titles, win titles, a team that's competitive, that has ambition, really with a good sporting project. Hello? Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding.
Who's that knocking?
Yeah. He said he doesn't know what the future is going to look like, but I think it's exciting just to know that you're going to have a new challenge. I obviously want to get something done before pre-season starts so I can get settled and have pre-season time with my team. But apart from that, now he is playing in the Gold Cup throughout the remainder of June in the month in the days and weeks to come. So getting that deal done is going to have to happen pretty quickly. He has been linked with us. He has been linked with Napoli and Juventus as well. Am I just being wild here? Is there not maybe a chance that we can still sneak that deal? We've been tracking him for a year now.
Yeah, a long time. So the Gold Cup, is that something in Canada?
Yeah, so it's I think it's like Jamaica and a few of the islands. I think there's like America, Canada, and it's kind of like their version of the cup that they play often.
Of Cup of America, but it's
just
interesting. Cool. Yeah, no, didn't like if we're going after Jonathan David, and if we got Jonathan David, what do we need Jia Pedro for then? I know you could play on the right. That's not really his position though, so it doesn't make sense that we'd go all in on Jia Pedro. Don't tell me you think we can get Jonathan David, Jia Pedro, Alanga.
No, I don't. I think if we're going to get Jonathan David, I think we'd then park the Jia Pedro interest.
Yeah.
Just because I think they're becoming to literally play this a similar position. So yeah, that's kind of where I'd be at with that. Sophie says there's 17 likes away from 200. Let's get us there. Let's get us those 17. Let's get us there as quickly as possible. That is for sure. One name I wanted to bring you, a name that I wasn't aware of, Daz. People, you might be new to the chat. It's this man. This young Ukrainian striker called Vladislav Vanat from Dynamo Kiev. A host of clubs are interested in this young striker. He is, I think, 22 years old. He is currently playing in the under-21s Euro Championships, as it says on there. Scored 17 goals this season, 4 assists in his season with Dynamo Kiev. A player that I wasn't aware of, but apparently Newcastle are tracking him. Another young striker there that's maybe linked with. Probably a tentative link, Daz, but just one to be aware of in case things pop up again. Do we go down that young route of the unknown, young route, should we say?
Oh, I think we definitely have to as well. We have to be feeding the development squad as well as there should be a budget for that, and for Eddie to cook. So, but it's who's heading up that? Is it Steve Nixon that's on that? I don't know. We are a bit. It kind of leads back to the article from Chris Wath and George Culkin that the kind of disarray with not having a CEO soon and not having a sporting director soon. We are kind of a bit of going backwards in that front. But I don't know anything about the player you just mentioned there. Maybe one for Football Manager, but I know. Be interesting to see what they do on those kind of youth development players as well. And then we also need to see some of them breaking through into the first team, because we've been doing it for a while now. So we need to start seeing people breaking through. We had like Alex Murphy coming in and playing, coming on and getting a few minutes, and then going out on loan. But so we need to get them some game time in a Newcastle shirt as well. Maybe you mentioned Alfie Harrison the other day as well. We need to, maybe he's someone that starts to make a breakthrough, because if he's not, then what's the point? He needs to move on. And that was kind of part of the deal as well. Didn't he have the option to move, I think, when we did sign him? So yeah, it's make a break for some of them now as we get to that stage, and a new batch needs to start coming in.
Well, we had Jay Turner-Cook, who's now been released by the club. We had Jamie Miley, who's now moved on in January, that got chances at pre-season. I do think Alfie Harrison will absolutely get the chance. But speaking of young players that you were given opportunity to, this is one I had especially for you, Dad. Sticking with strikers as well. Would you take this man as an alternative to Alexander Isak this summer? People in the chat get your opinions too, because even Ferguson could be allowed to leave Brighton permanently this summer. Everton are amongst those teams that are interested. So the Irish Times Sports have reported that he is likely to leave permanently this summer. Now, obviously, we've talked about him before as this potential talent, hasn't quite realised it. Number of injuries, didn't set the world alight on loan at West Ham, but West Ham have had a dreadful season, so it might not all be his fault. Would you take that, Daz?
So yeah, your question is as to support Isak, as in to take the load off on our second striker on and coming off the bench and so on, and taking the load off Isak. 2 years ago, it would have been a yes, hell yes, bring him in. Hey, he's class. He's gone off the boil big time, as we've said. He didn't get much game time at West Ham. I'm just linking back to the Irish Mags chat. They've been watching the Irish game. I saw in the chat that he's gone off the boil for Ireland as well. He do. We did say it as well. He does need a maybe a loan to the top half of the championship, and get a run of games and go on to fire them to promotion, or some a team to promotion, or be like top goal scorer or whatever. I think get his groove back. He's just kind of lost his way big time. An option of what Brighton want, because you're not getting much from now. And
what do you think? What do you think's acceptable to be signing even Ferguson permanently? And look, there's people in the chat. Like, I'll just read some of them out, Daz, to before you give us your answers. So Sophie B straight away was like, "Nope, not a chance." He's fell off a cliff. She said, "No chance." There was a couple of others. Stephen Harker said before, yes, but since his injuries, no, or his injured knee, no. Aaron says that there's a player in there. I take him, to be honest, depending on the fee. Kenneth says he's injured too much. No chance on even Ferguson from Kyle. There's other opinions in there as well. Kenzie said Ferguson scored a hat-trick against us, then fell off the earth. He absolutely did. So there's just a few comments that I can see. But yeah, what
for me
would be acceptable, mate?
I've made my decision. I'm not listening to the chatters. 15 million. Brighton won't take it. 15 million. Eddie Howe could do a job on him. Now, the people started mentioning injuries, so that is the worry. I don't want another striker with injuries. We've had enough of that. That's why we're not going near Calvert-Lewin and stuff as well. But he's young enough for Eddie Howe to be able to work on him. Injuries is the massive concern, and I don't think Brighton will take 15 million, but I think that's fair enough. Like we did talk about 17 million or something crazy before for him. So
yeah,
look, he can't have lost what he had previously. As in, it can't be that far buried that they couldn't bring it back into him again. He just, if he could keep him fit. So that's why I don't think we should go there though. We can't still, even with a £15 million player on a player, we can't take that gamble. The situation we're in. So like what we did with bringing Asula in, it was Jason Tyndall's recommendation, and if we were to sell Will Asula now, we'd get more from him, and there's still an awful lot more to come from Will Asula. So it wouldn't turn a profit. So I don't think I'd do it, but 15 million will be my marker.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest 2000 said, I'll put it in a nice way. Even Ferguson is rubbish. he used different ways to describe that, but yeah, not very good in that. I don't think we'll go for him. But
neither do I.
Where he might land actually in terms of his next club, because he's missed a lot of football. A couple of things, last things from me in terms of updates, Daz, because we had a couple of updates. An update here from Mark Gay, and this brings me to one of the questions in the chat actually. Update from Mark Gay. So Rudy Galletti, who reports on a number of things, European football and also Premier League, says Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Mark Gay after initial approaches with other English clubs also in. Apparently Inter have called their intentions for now, so they were interested in him. I wasn't aware of that myself, but a team that were interested in him, but Newcastle have seemed to have stepped that up. Now, as an alternative to Mark Gay, there was a question in the chat. I just need to find it. Because the chat's moving so quickly, I've lost it here. Let me see if I can get it. Where is it? It was from Tom Dixon, and he asked the question: would you take Jarrell Kwanzaa from Liverpool? He could leave them this window. We've had this conversation before, but I'll throw this out there as an alternative to Mark Gay. Would you take Jarrell Kwanzaa?
Yeah, well, what do they want for him? They'll want something crazy. They wanted 40 million or something before.
Last time they did.
No. Anytime I've seen him play, I've gone, "What's the deal? What's the big deal with this thing? With this guy?" And like Eddie Howe was there wasn't the talk of he was potentially one that would be in the mix for some kind of a player trade. But no, not for me. I didn't see. No, maybe it's just I was seeing him at a bad time, but I don't see the massive attraction. So no, I don't want him.
Not a chance for me. I wasn't a massive fan of him anyway. I think there's a lot of young players that get the hype because they're at the club that they're at, and because he's come through at Liverpool, he got a lot of hype, and I didn't really see the quality. Or I've just got visions of him being bounced around by Joe Linton in the Carabao Cup final that just meant, nah, not for me. Joe Linton bounces most people around, but it just makes he's not quite the guy that we want. I'm not. Kenzie's put it well. Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa. I'm just gonna leave that one there. Kwanzaa.
But Mark A, look, it's pretty bad if we go back in. If we're going back in for Mark A and he chooses somewhere else. If all fees are equal and he chooses somewhere else, because we've shown the love for him for the last year. So
yeah, I said this. I might have said it on Tuesday, or I might have said it on the Sunday loaded breakfast. Like, surely a player would look at how much time a team is invested into showing how much they want you, showing them like their intent. All the bidding from last summer, still interest in January, now coming back in and showing interest in the summer. Surely that need and want to sign you over that period of time should make you think to yourself, you know what, these guys really want me. They want me to improve their team. Like, I'm going to be the guy at that team, because that's effectively what they're doing. They're planting the seed because they want him to be the next guy. Like, if that was me and I was in it, I'd be thinking that. It doesn't matter what team it was, a team that's been investing all their time and effort to try and get you over that period of time, it would make me think that is the right club for me. I would. It would be really disappointing to see him go elsewhere, especially if it was a team that just came out the blue, out of nowhere, that just kind of plucked him.
Yeah, and
that would annoy me. That would annoy me.
It would. One that I meant to bring up earlier, it comes from Funby, and he asked the question: should Longstaff get the captain's armband next season? What do you think, Pete?
He does this on purpose. He just drops a little bit of magic dust and then hopes that it just causes carnage. Look, he's not going to be, in my opinion, a Newcastle United player next year. And just to add to that thought, you know, you've got Leeds reporters now talking up the potential of Longstaff joining. So this report came out today, saying that, you know, how he would be a good signing for them. Obviously, Leeds fans are saying he's not the kind of shiny, exciting signing that everyone's talking about. But that piece was more about his effectiveness, his running ability, his ability to do the dogged work is what they would need in order to stay in the league, which I agree with. I think that's probably the likely place that he goes, but ultimately it is his decision. Does he want to continue to be sixth choice next season, which he is right now? He'll be the same. Or does he want to go and play for a club that maybe are trying to stay in the Premier League, but be one of the main guys doing it? You know, at 28 years old now, he's got to then think about where his what he sees his footballing future like, in my opinion.
It must be tough though as well. Look, you're playing for your boyhood club. He's won something with them. He's played in the Champions League with them. It must be tempting just to stay as well, and just to be part of it, and hope that you break back into the squad in some capacity. But you're looking at injuries, a lot of injuries for that to happen. But yeah, it's time for Sean to move on and just to further develop his career and try it at another club. But I can see the pull and wanting to stay as well, because it's all good things that are happening.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll wait and see. That one will develop as well. But yeah, Chris, in addition to that, because I've covered everything that I wanted to cover in terms of tonight from our perspective, but he's put, boys, are you worried we'll get rid of Longstaff for buttons? I saw 10 million floated around the other day. Surely Longstaff's worth more than that. Winks and Skips as example that both worth 20 million. What's your thoughts on that?
I think in squad game I put him down as 13 million, but 15 million is a fair price for Longstaff. 28, but you're getting a good player. You're getting a good, and like no injury issues or anything like that either. You know, he came in and he'll do a job for you. So, and if he gets a run of games as well, he might get back a bit of form. Because I remember seeing him before he broke onto the scene for Newcastle. They came over to a game, probably Dublin or something. It was in Dublin, and he was shooting from distance, and he was pretty good. He scored a goal actually in that friendly. So he was at that time he would be on loan at Blackpool, and he found his shooting boots then. So I was just thinking, he could be like a Lampard here for us, but didn't go that way really. Definitely the shooting side.
Injuries hampered that, because he was neck and neck with Rice at one point. Then he got that really bad injury, and then just didn't quite recreate those sorts of levels. Sophie got her 200 likes. Great stuff. Thank you, everyone in the chat. There's also news that Thomas Frank has agreed to sign for Spurs as manager.
Frank out.
Yeah, how long is that going to be?
Yeah,
saying that. But Carl put in the chat, bring me Kamara from Villa. We did mention this earlier, so if you missed it, go back, rewind. We did have a conversation about Villa. I think they're going to be the team to watch in terms of losing a player or two
up until end of June. Yeah, they're going to be.
And I take Kamara. Said it on Chris. He would allow Sandro Tonali to have alternative positions playing further forward. He would play in the 6. He's rotated really well at Aston Villa at this moment in time and been massively effective. He wants to play Champions League. We are Champions League. He would massively up the level, the ceiling, the floor of Newcastle United, and actually would raise the ceiling a little bit of his ability. He is quality. He is absolute quality.
I remember when he did sign, because we were in for him at that time. They sent a free transfer, that he's on massive wages. So I think that could be an issue for us trying to bring him in.
It's like 180, something like 200 grand a week.
Yeah, I think that was like 200. Yeah,
that was because he was a free transfer, though. He'd have to maybe reconsider that if he was signing elsewhere, because I don't think there'd be many teams that would pay that. Foxy's just put in the chat, forget Kamara, Monaco's Camara. I think it's Lamine Camara at Monaco, who is a very, very good player. Had another good season as well. So if Bill Mitchell, Paul Mitchell, whatever you want to call him, Mitchell, Grant Mitchell, if he was around any longer, maybe he would have made that deal happen. But let's see.
I think we'll start bringing the show to a close, everyone, as well. Thanks for sticking with us through the StreamYard outage and us not having the chat. That's why we haven't been able to put anything up on screen. If you're wondering what was happening there, we do see it coming through on our phones. Your messages coming through. Smash that like button as well on the way out. We say hello to Chris as well. Good night, Chris. Who was with us earlier, but it got kicked out when his internet crashed and then wasn't able to get back in because of that issue. That is it. We must play out with the Radiators. We give Russ a shout out there at the start because of his with his new sponsorship with the under eights team of Hedden United FC. But we'll also play out with the Radiators, and where I can find it, it's here. See you on the next one, whenever that may be. Maybe with the signing. We live in hope. Good night. Have a good one. Yes, Pete, I think we're still live. We can't end the stream.
We can't get off the when the light was out. What is going on here?
That would be interesting. Let me see. Let me try it again. Let's try to end the stream. No. Okay, we'll just walk off stage. So
The show goes on, apparently.
we've been decided. Right, okay. Right. I'll see you in a sec, Pete. We'll try and shut down this stream some way and go from there.
We're back. No, we're not really.